Throughout history, countless civilizations have risen, flourished, and eventually faded into the dusty pages of time. But some of them changed the course of humanity forever, leaving behind an unforgettable legacy for future generations. This story begins with one of those remarkable civilizations, the Sumerians. Around 6,000 years ago, in the ancient lands we now call Iraq, in Mesopotamia, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers met in a furtive embrace, the first great civilizations of humanity began to bloom. Thanks to the life-giving waters of the rivers, small villages slowly grew into powerful city-states. This was the place where words took form and writing was born, where the wheel turned for the very first time, where laws were etched into stone tablets, and where the foundations of astronomy and mathematics were laid. This was Sumer, the land where the limits of the human mind were pushed and the spirit of innovation burned bright.
As we live in our modern world, we may not even realize that we use the legacy of the Sumerians every single day. The division of time into 60 minutes, the circle into 360 degrees, our calendars, irrigation systems, and so much more. All of it is like a whisper, echoing from thousands of years ago. Now, let us open the gates to this mysterious and truly mesmerizing civilization. Together, we will discover who the Sumerians were, how they lived, what they achieved, and why they suddenly disappeared from the stage of history. This is not just a history lesson. It's a journey to the lands where humanity took its first steps and where dreams became reality. The Sumerians' first major leap was the transformation from small agricultural communities into independent city-states. Names like Ur, Uruk, Kish, and Lagash were not just settlements, they were powerful centers with their own gods, kings, laws, and armies. Each city was believed to be protected by its own deity, and at the heart of these cities stood towering ziggurats that reached toward the heavens. These were not merely temples, but the very soul of both spiritual and everyday life in Sumer. These cities stood out not just for their size, but for their complex social structures. At the top were the kings, known as Ensi or Lugal, who also served as high priests, holding both religious and political power. Beneath them were priests, scribes, soldiers, artisans, and farmers. Everyone had a defined role in society, and this hierarchy was essential for the functioning of the city-states. The strong walls surrounding these cities were a reflection of the constant struggles with neighboring city-states and the competition over resources. Yet even these conflicts couldn't halt Sumer's development. On the contrary, such rivalries pushed them to develop better control methods and more sophisticated forms of governance. The Sumerians didn't just build cities. They made groundbreaking inventions that left a permanent mark on human history. Perhaps the most important was writing. What began as pictographic signs on clay tablets eventually evolved into cuneiform script. Now, information, stories, laws, and trade records could be permanently documented. It was a revolution in the storage and transmission of knowledge. Thanks to the Sumerians, history was truly written. With writing came literature. Epic poems like the Epic of Gilgamesh explored themes of heroism, friendship, and the meaning of life. As the oldest known literary work of humanity, it reveals the Sumerians' rich inner world and deep imagination. And what about the wheel? Though it may seem simple, it transformed every aspect of human life, from transportation to industry. The Sumerians first used the wheel as a potter's tool and later applied it to carts and war chariots, revolutionizing trade and military power. Their contributions in mathematics and astronomy are still felt today. The Sumerians developed a base 60 system, the sexagesimal system, which divided the circle into 360 degrees and the hour into 60 minutes and the minute into 60 seconds. This system became the foundation of modern timekeeping and measurement. They studied the skies, mapped stars and planets, and created complex calendars to plan planting seasons. They were also the first to define the zodiac signs. In agriculture, they made remarkable advancements. To manage the unpredictable waters of the Tigris and Euphrates, they built intricate irrigation systems and dams. This allowed them to cultivate fertile lands more efficiently and feed their growing cities. They also developed farming tools like the plow and the sickle. Another vital contribution was law. The written laws of Ur-Nammu, for example, were an early attempt to ensure social order and justice, setting a precedent for later civilizations. Religion played a central role in Sumerian life. Each city-state had its own guardian deity, believed to control everything from natural events to human destiny. In the Sumerian pantheon, powerful gods like An, god of the sky, Enlil, god of wind, and Enki, god of wisdom, stood out. Ziggurats symbolized the connection between humans and gods. Through rituals, offerings, and prayers, the Sumerians sought divine favor. Their art was deeply connected to their religion. Sculptures, cylinder seals, inlays, and reliefs reflected their refined aesthetics and attention to detail. Especially the cylinder seals were not just for signing. They marked ownership and told stories through miniature artistry. Daily life was filled with activity. Craftsmen, farmers, merchants, and soldiers all had important roles. Homes were made of mud brick, simple but practical. Markets bustled with trade. Grain, animals, textiles, and pottery changed hands regularly.
Entertainment and music were also key parts of Sumerians' culture. The discovery of lyres and archaeological digs shows how much they valued music. Education, especially for scribes, was essential. In Sumerian schools, students learned to write on clay tablets, studied mathematics and grammar. These scribes played a vital role in both the administration and religious life of Sumer.
So why did such an advanced and powerful civilization disappear from the stage of history? The fall of the Sumerians cannot be attributed to a single cause. Around 2300 BCE, the rise of the Akkadians and their leader Sargon challenged the independence of the Sumerian city-states. Sargon became the first ruler to unify Mesopotamia under one empire, marking the end of the Sumerians' era of independent city-states. But the Sumerian language and culture did not vanish. The newly established Babylonian and Assyrian empires inherited the legacy of the Sumerians and integrated it into their own cultures. Much like Latin in medieval Europe, Sumerian remained a prestigious language, especially in scholarly and religious texts. Their writing system, mathematical and astronomical knowledge, legal principles, and literary works were passed down from generation to generation. This legacy didn't remain confined to Mesopotamia. It spread to ancient Greece, then to Rome, and eventually helped shape modern Western civilization. Their knowledge of the skies laid the foundation for modern astronomy. Their legal principles lit the path for modern justice systems. And perhaps most importantly, the Sumerians taught us the value of preserving knowledge, and that civilizations are built upon one another. Today, when we look at the ruins of this ancient civilization, we don't just see broken temples or dusty clay tablets. What we see is a testament to humanity's unending desire to grow, to learn, and to create. The Sumerians made the first great attempt at civilization, and they succeeded. They were the ones who planted the seeds of society and created the tools and knowledge needed for those seeds to grow. From writing to law, from astronomy to engineering, the marks they left still shape our world today. Perhaps this is their true immortality. The Sumerians are not just a people of the past, they are a legacy that laid the very foundation of our modern world. Their story reminds us how understanding the past is essential for building the future. From the cradle of civilization, from the heart of Mesopotamia, a voice still echoes after thousands of years. The Sumerians live on through their eternal legacy. Thank you for joining us on this fascinating journey through time. Until our next adventure in history,